Our first guest has written scores of books. He's been a popular speaker among Latter-day Saints for decades. Co-hosts the Follow Him podcast with Hank Smith, a BYU grad, loves BYU Sports. It's a pleasure to welcome to the Wise Guys the great John Bytheway. Thank you for being here. We've been counting down to this night.
Well, when I'm driving down, I realized, this is April Fool's Day. Now I know why you got me. Who can we get for a fool?
Nothing related to that whatsoever.
What we do have is some video showing BYU's next potential quarterback.
Yeah.
This video was taken just moments before tonight's show. Out there in the drive of our private location, tossing the football with Blaine Fowler.
I wanted to do. I told you when you first invited me, can I throw the football with Blaine? I just want to say I threw with an NCAA college quarterback,
What about the form here, Blaine?
I wish the weather was good.
Live-action shots
It's
of
actually
John
not bad.
Bytheway getting loose.
It's a little bit loose and wide with the takeaway. I'd like to see him come right from, see where he has it, when he has it chested. I'd like to see him come straight back to the ear and not waste quite so much motion. Other than that, the release is really good. Coming off see how he rotates that hand over like this? A la Steve Young. He rotates it over. The last thing that's supposed to come off the football with a quarterback that throws it with good rotation is your index fingers. So you come off, you snap your hand down, your index finger's the last thing that comes off the ball, and that's exactly what happens with John. That's why he had good rotation on the ball.
Did you get all that?
See the coaching I'm getting here? This is incredible.
You're a natural.
I'm coming back.
And here's what we don't know. We need to get some targets and stuff if we're going to really recruit him. I was watching an old interview with Mike Leach the other day, and they asked him to rate the characteristics that he looks for in quarterbacks when he's recruiting. What do you guys think the number one thing was? It was interesting to me because I
a lot of people would say size.
Yeah, size, arm strength.
Yeah.
He goes, no, accuracy. 100%, not even close. Number one, accuracy. He goes, because you can't teach it. You can hone it a little bit. But he goes, great quarterbacks, when they're in third or fourth grade, are the ones that go out front, pick up a snowball, and say, I'm going to hit the stop sign, and they hit it. Or let's hit the tree. Let's have a contest hitting the tree. And he says, because accuracy, there's just so little you can do to make it better. And he said, so that's the number one thing. And number two after that was leadership and intelligence. Arm strength was like sixth down the list. And he goes, if arm strength was important, then the greatest player in the history of the game would not be Tom Brady. Steve Young would not be a Hall of Famer. And he just went over and over and over again, named like 7 great quarterbacks. And he goes, but let me tell you something all 7 of those guys had. Tremendous accuracy. So that's his number one thing.
Throw it to the right guys.
So, and I think with John's form, he'd be pretty accurate.
We all grew up with aspirations of being, superstars in athletics. You are no different from all of us, but you also want to be a fighter pilot.
Yeah.
And then your eyes went south a little bit, which when we talk about accuracy, fighter pilots also have to be accurate. And then that didn't work out, but that didn't keep you from the cockpit.
Yeah, that's right. I could not believe this happened, but there was a point with Deseret Book, and I jokingly call him Desperate Book. I'm going to get a text from Sherry, but because they publish my stuff. But I love airplanes and aviation and stuff, and I didn't write them, I just compiled a couple of books with stories of Latter-day Saint pilots, like harrowing stories where their faith helped them or where that teaches a principle. And one of these F-16 pilots, Derek O'Malley, he wrote me an email, and I'd like to have a chapter. And I emailed him back, and I said, yeah, P.S., let me know if you ever have an empty back seat. And he's like, we can do that.
Wow.
I was like, what?
I thought you had to have like an act of Congress or something.
It was like that, because he said, here's what, you need a letter from your publisher, what the book's about.
Yeah.
You need a letter from to the Air Force, a letter from you to the Air Force about what you intend to do. And he said, you kind of need someone on the inside to push it. That's me.
There you go.
So 2008, June, Las Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base. About noon, 104 degrees on the flight line.
It was a cool day.
Wow. Yeah.
104.
Took off in an F-16.
So describe the feeling of takeoff?
Takeoff was like California Adventure, like the one.
Okay,
what's the
I'm
one
in
called?
trouble right there. I'm done right there because that's a problem for me.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
The one that they have that is instead of going up,
it just shoots you like
acceleration coaster.
That's that thing over in California Adventure.
Yeah. And he was awesome because he said, I don't usually get to do this, but let's have a prayer. So we did, right? And so we're just waiting to roll onto the runway, and he says, okay, arm your ejection chair. Can you imagine how cool that felt to go armed?
Nice.
And then he pulls it on and he said, oh man, you're going to love this. And we did this, full afterburner takeoff.
Oh, wow.
And I was laughing. And then I was fine. And then he said, let me show you the roll rate of the F-16. He said, we can roll 540 degrees in 1 second. And then he just did it. We went, a rotation and a half, and then he went back again. And I thought I'd be fine because I took flying lessons in Prov. I soloed,
Okay.
I'm used to the G's, no big deal. But the whole planet spinning around, I was like, can you hold it straight and level for a minute? And
Did you lose it?
I did. He gave me a banana. I said, I wasn't going to eat anything. He said, have a banana. I said, why a banana? He said, it tastes the same coming up as going down.
Oh, man.
But he had over 100 missiles fired at him in Iraq, this guy.
Wow.
He talks about, it's a sad story. He was searching for a downed F-18 pilot. He was an F-16 pilot. But this kid, turns out, he didn't know it at the time, was actually another BYU graduate.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That died, Nathan White. And that they never found him. So,
Wow.
What's the name of I was going through all of the books. How many books now have you published? 17?
No, more than
it's
50
like
18,
something.
20?
It's around.
I just looked at the Amazon list, and they're actively selling 17 right now. Actively selling 17.
Yeah, there's a lot that are out of print. There's about 50, but some of them are some of them are a revised one. So is that 2 or is that 1? I don't know.
What's the title of the book? Where the one that the pilot that took you up?
Supersonic Saints.
Supersonic
Saints
2. It's the second one.
And that one's still active on Amazon. I saw that there.
So when you're doing Tom Cruise up there,
Yeah.
zipping across the sky, what are you thinking?
I just couldn't believe it. I look back, out of this beautiful bubble canopy, and I can see the wings, and I'm like, I'm in an F-16. I'm in an F-16. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go really fast, really low. And just without warning, he inverted us, and then we dived down.
Oh gosh.
And we're zipping along about 150 feet off
I
the
just
ground.
I feel like I'm going to throw up if you keep talking about this.
I do it again. So
It was
fast.
awesome.
It was so great.
And you had this dream that maybe you'd be a fighter pilot or a great athlete. As you were experiencing this, did you think, I could have done this? Or did you think, oh man, there's just no way?
It was harder than I thought.
Really?
The inner ear stuff. Because after I threw up the third time,
Oh man.
I was like, I think I'm, can you keep it straight and level? And he did. And he said, just listen, you're going to throw up. I've taken up about 50 people. All but 3 of them have thrown up. So you probably will just kind of plan on it.
So
but I didn't think I would.
You're watching Top Gun Maverick, and you've been there and done that without the soundtrack. Does the soundtrack really enhance the experience?
It was fun to watch that because the first one was actors and special effects.
Yeah.
And the second one, they were in the back seat, and they made it look like Tom was flying it.
Yeah.
But the forces on their faces was real. And I thought that was...
The crazy thing is Tom could fly it if they would have let him. And he has, I don't know what he has some type of...
He has a P-51. He flew up at the end with that.
Yeah, he's got... And he would be... I saw him do an interview and say, I'm capable of fly that equipment, but the Air Force won't let you fly something of that.
By the way, let's dive into the meat of this interview.
Yeah, for sure.
With your last name and the uniqueness of by the way.
Right.
By the way, I've known no other person with that last name. There's some McCanns all over the place. There aren't many by the ways. Where does this come from?
It's a funny story. I was down in San Antonio many years ago at the Riverwalk Mall, and they had a kiosk in the middle of the mall that said Family Name Histories.
Yeah.
This is probably pre-internet. This is like the 90s, and maybe it was new. But I was like looking in their binder. They had By the Way printed out. So for $25, they printed it out for me, and it said, By the Way is a location name that means dweller by the road.
Wow.
$25 for that, right? And they said there's other names like At the Well, At the Water. They took out the word the and became At Well, At Water, By Water. Like
Ben Bywater.
So that's where
our
as soon as you said that, I'm like, are you? I just was with Ben Saturday. Are you related to Ben in some way? Is his name?
Yeah, he was
morphed?
by the water, and we were by the way.
We were by the way.
He was fishing, we were homeless, we were by the way. But the by the ways never took out the. So those Bywater, great family, man.
Yeah. Hopefully,
Nice guy.
Isn't it cool
hopefully
that
we
they
get
left
Ben
the
healthy.
in? Because you know what? That your name stands out.
Gave me a built-in joke.
If you're going to be a writer and you're going to teach and do all of these things, you want to name this memorable. I don't know any. As soon as somebody says, "By the way," I think of you every time.
Wow. Well,
Every time.
I was holding my scriptures once. You know how they emboss your name?
Yeah.
And my thumb had covered up John and by, and it said the way. And I thought, I'll take it. Jesus says, I am the way. I'm like, I am by the way. I'll take it.
BYU grad extraordinaire John By the Way is on Wise Guys tonight. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. If you have a question, hop on our live stream. You teach Book of Mormon and New Testament at the BYU Salt Lake Center. Used to teach here in Provo, and you taught a lot of our friends, including our BYU TV colleague David Nixon.
Yeah.
What kind of student was Nix?
Oh, no.
You know,
we're going to get into this.
Oh, yeah. We're getting right in.
He was great. In fact, it was right when Bronco came in.
Yeah.
And I had some players before that. Sometimes they'd come, sometimes they wouldn't. And boy, it was fall of 2005. I've got a class. I've got Brett Denny, David Nixon, Mitch Payne, Chris Bolden was in that class.
Wow, yeah, I remember Chris.
Jimmy Balderson, Jackson Emery. This is an incredible class.
Yeah.
And those guys came on time. They made comments. They offered to give the prayer when I asked. And so I just became really a fan then. And so I was telling Dave that I'd always ask at the beginning of class, hey, any mission calls, any marriage, what's going on? Guy raises his hand, taps the kid in front of him, says, he's going to the Masters tournament next week. Like, what? And his name was Clay Ogden, and he had won the Utah Amateur.
Yeah.
And so he comes back, a couple of weeks later, who'd you tee off with? I think he said Ben Crenshaw.
Wow.
Like, no way.
Yeah.
Right in your class.
Yeah.
That's why.
Pretty fun.
Did you have Justin Enna?
Yeah.
In your class? So Justin, current linebackers coach. How was he in class? Because off the field, like I watch him now, off the field, he's just the kindest, most welcoming, warmest human you'll ever want to meet. I watch him on the field, not as a player, as a coach. He's pretty intense. How was he in the classroom?
He was awesome. I remember him. He sat down to my right, and this was in the Mazer building, that building that looks really Ivy League. You know?
Yeah, I tried to stay out of there.
Yeah, he was to me so interesting because he's this linebacker, but he's smiling, he's laughing, he's taking notes. I'm like, I love this kid, right? So I have good memories of John. I don't know if he even remembers me. I'll have to ask him.
Oh yeah, I'll ask him. What I love about Justin, and it's fun that you've had all of these guys, is you always say you want guys that outside the white line are absolute gentlemen and kind and loving and all of that. And you want them to be able to cross that white line and just put on a completely different persona and be a mean, physical dude out there. And Justin Enna is the personification of that. Like, he's so good at that. And yet he's so kind off the field. Because you had a ton of athletes from multiple sports. What's your feeling about what it takes to compete at that level? Because you had some really good ones in your class. What is it about them that makes them special?
Man, I guess it's a focus and determination. I should have asked them that question more often because those guys were getting good grades. They were good students, and that's kind of what won me over to these guys. I thought, man, because I knew some guys in high school that played football, and I knew some guys at BYU that played, and these guys, I thought I'm on their side, man. These guys are amazing, and I had I was going to tell you too, David Nixon's sister Emily,
right?
Oh yeah,
then
Taysom Hill's wife,
Mary Taysom,
yeah,
right, and so that was fun. But I really and it's fun for me. Trying to raise 3 boys to be able to watch and say, hey, see that guy? He went on a mission. It's that Trevin Nell. He went to Uruguay, where you're going, Timothy. My son just got called. And my son Andrew went to Iceland, and when he got there, the sun came up at 11 and set at 4, I think. And then COVID hit, and he's in his apartment, and it's dark, cold, and windy. And Kalani was doing something with players that were writing like a page to missionaries that were out there.
Oh, yeah.
And they were posting those. So I was getting those and sending them to my son, who's also a fan, saying, thank you for doing that.
That's awesome.
These guys have done this, and you can do this too.
One of your great sports books you wrote is this one right here. It's called
Golf
Lessons I Learned While Looking for My Ball. And you can find it on the, where can we find that? It's an ebook now.
Yeah, the print one, it's out of print, the hard copy, but they have it as on Deseret Bookshelf. That's their app.
Deseret Bookshelf.
And that was fun.
And by the way, we John signed this.
Yeah.
Is that the coolest signature you've ever seen?
It's like doctor. You could have been Dr.
No,
Bytheway.
but it's very, I don't know the word for it.
I was trying to be fluid like throwing the football.
It's a combination of artistic and flamboyant all at the same time.
Fantastic.
Which I like.
So why golf?
Well, I really started playing golf probably after I graduated. I mean, I played, but I really bought some clubs, and I just think golf has so many life lessons in it. You know, there's a time when you want power, and there's a time when it is just finesse. When you're putting, you know, and you've got to think about chipping and stuff like that, and anybody can make a shot that a pro would envy. And I think that's pretty cool about golf.
Yeah, there's that one shot every round, right, where you're just miserable.
Now I'm coming back.
Yeah. I feel like every round, and Dave and I have played quite a bit together, there's a point in that round where I'm going to, like, that's it. I'm done. This is a waste. I'm throwing the clubs away. I'm never playing again. But one shot can change all of that, where you just go, you know what, maybe with a little more practice, if I just would play more often.
Well, I love the whole concept of how it relates to life, meaning you're playing a par 4. If you stay in the fairway, stay within the rules of the game, avoid the rough and avoid the sand, there's a really good chance that you're going to get where you need to go and putt in for a 4, if par's the 4, or a bogey or whatever. But the way life goes is we're in the rough, and then we stay in the rough, and then we make it worse while we're in the rough, and we look over there and we go, what would life be like to be out in the fairway where you're actually supposed to be? And for guys who spend a lot of time in the rough, the fairway is where you want to be, and in life, that's where you want to be.
And sometimes you're not. But I love the old saying that 3 bad shots, 1 good shot, still make par. And that's why I think golf can be like life, you know.
Is there just a one major lesson in this book? You don't have to do a whole book review, or there are multiple lessons in here. And if it's interesting to ask the writer, is there a favorite lesson from this book on golf that you take away and go, you know, this is my most favorite thing that I put in this book?
There is. And the funny thing is, I actually use this golf lesson when I teach the Sermon on the Mount. Because the very last verse in the Sermon on the Mount, take no thought for the morrow will take thought for things of itself. And at first I was like, you're not supposed to think about tomorrow? Because in President Monson say the past is gone, learn from it, and prepare for the future. Yeah. And all of the other Bible translations don't use the word thought. Take no thought for the tomorrow. They say don't worry about tomorrow. And worry is, in the footnote, anxious concern. So it says under thought, anxious concern. So really it's don't worry about tomorrow. You can think about tomorrow, but you don't worry about it. And one of the things that fascinates me about sports and talking to you guys is performance anxiety. And how you make free throws when everybody, like an away game, and how you get into thinking, not worrying, not apprehensive. I mean, if the only thing that matters in golf is the next shot, that's the quote I was going to say. The only thing that matters in golf, the next shot. That to me is Matthew 7:34. Take no thought for tomorrow, just what am I going to do today? We even have a hymn about that. Today, work while you may, whatever it is. And regret is thinking about the past. Worry is maybe worried, oh God, man, I have a sand trap coming up. Oh, I've got that dog leg coming up. Instead, what do I do right now? And you know Craig Manning, have you ever had him on the show?
We haven't had him on. We know Craig.
Yeah, the sports psychologist. He did this whole paragraph in his book. I brought it, The Fearless Mind, about the difference between thinking and worrying, which I thought was fascinating. Thinking is what do I do right now? And worrying is getting you off right now. Isn't that a great lesson for golf? The only thing that matters, the next shot.
Isn't it the same for life?
Yeah.
What really matters is the decision you're about to make.
Mm-hmm. And regret is a waste of energy, right? You repent, you get back on the covenant path if you need to. Covenant path has lots of off-ramps, but it has on-ramps. Get back on. What am I going to do today? The next shot.
You can control. You're standing over the ball, and this is what I can control.
That's the only moment you can control.
Right, and it's interesting because last week we had Dave Rose and his son on with us, Garrett, And we asked Garrett what the best advice that Dave ever gave him was. And he said, my dad always told us the whole time I was growing up, and then Garrett went through significant trials, focus on the things you can control right now and do the best you can at that, and don't worry about the rest. And Dave said that's just been a theme that he's lived by throughout his life and through his coaching career, that let's focus on what we can control. And if we stay focused on that, then we'll have success. The success will come. And so that same mindset.
Yeah. Here's
the shot. Make the shot. I'm not going to worry about whether or not if I hit it in the sand, am I going to be able to get up and down? If I hit it on the green, I'm going to focus on what do I need to do to execute this shot right now.
And that's all you have control over right now.
Right now. Yeah, I love that.
So it's a great lesson, and we sing that hymn about that. There is no tomorrow, there's only today. But I think they changed it to prepare for tomorrow by working today or something. But it had that idea of today, and it's have I done any good in the world today? What can I do today? So that's probably my favorite golf lesson.
Isn't there a scripture too? The course of the Lord is one eternal round. I've been on some eternal rounds.
Yeah.
And I know what that's like. And it's like, this is never going to end. This round is never going to end.
It's like the last page of the book. And Paul says, I have finished my course, right?
Yeah.
So
There you go.
John Bytheway is our guest on The Wise Guys. This interview is the result of John watching our show and commenting on the live stream. So all of you are potential guests, and there's a lot of great comments we'll try to get to here in just a moment.
Including Glenn, who's in the Philippines.
Yeah. Good to have you, Glenn.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where I served, yeah.
Yep. And then,
John Crowder, love John B. And we raised our kids on Youth Talks off of CDs in the car while driving on long vacation trips. How about that?
They're kind of a captive audience when they're in the car.
Hey, Doug's even listening on the front runner, heading to Layton,
Nice.
up north, living. He says, loves John. I love John, by the way. Tell him thanks for all the good he does. Faith and fun together.
So nice.
Years ago, I was a sportscaster in Vegas, and I came in my ward on one Sunday, and an old codger wanted to talk to me, and we sat down, and he went off about how sports was of the devil and everything was designed to end on Sunday, and all he could see was everything that was wrong with that, and asked me how I could choose this lifestyle of promoting it. And I was listening to him, and he was a lot of touch on some things, and he had some points, but my mind went back to all those who don't have religion and how a void sports fills in their life, whether it's NASCAR or NFL or soccer or whatever. And I'm thinking there has to be a happy medium, because there's so many positives that come from sports, and there's so many things that are important that are spiritual. So how do they blend together? How do you see sports and spirituality blending?
Yeah. I see so many life lessons from sports that is one of the reasons I love to watch. And my wife loves to go to plays at Hale Center or whatever. And I'm not fun to go to a play with, because I'm going to see those two fighting. They're going to be kissing by the end. I've got the plot all figured out.
You figured out.
You know all of the...
Yeah, and in a football game, a baseball, you don't know. It's drama, it's adversity, it's everything right in front of you, and you get to watch it happen. And I love that. And so there's life lessons. I remember, and you remember, I think you called this game, Dave, BYU, Utah State at BYU.
Right. Blaine was off the Himalayas because Gary Scheide subbed in for him that night.
Oh, okay.
What? So, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Was I in the Himalayas? Really?
It must have been somewhere.
I don't know where I was.
Or a doctor's convention.
Somewhere around the world.
Something like that.
Somewhere around the world.
Yeah.
So Jake starts. They get behind to Utah State. And
Riley Nelson comes in.
Yeah.
And he's got great hair. I remember that. And
He still does.
He still does. And he's just, I don't know, I guess, and you can tell us about this, Blaine. The whole team takes on the attitude, I guess, of the QB, because he comes in, and all of a sudden, they're looking like a different team. Drives him down the field twice.
Yeah.
I think, like, DeLuigi tipped the ball, and Matthews
caught it. Yeah.
Caught it. And Mitch, or no, his brother.
Marcus
Matthews caught that. But after the game, when they interviewed Riley Nelson, I thought, man, I got to remember that. That was good. He said, here's my attitude. I have my toe on the sideline, my head in the game, and I'm physically prepared. And I was like, that is great advice. He knew exactly what was going on. Head in the game, ready to come in, helmet on, right? He comes in, takes over. And I thought, that's impressive, just to be ready. If you're prepared, you shall not fear, right? And that reminded me of that principle right there.
And it's interesting when you mentioned this, when a backup quarterback comes into a game, especially if it's a big game, and Utah State was always a big game, you know, it was a rivalry game. There's something that happens with the rest of the team where they're like, hey, let's rally around, guys. We got this guy. Like, let's take care of it. He's new in here. We all know what's going on. We all know what he can do. Let's rally around. Everybody raise their level just a little bit, and let's make it easy on this guy. There's just that mentality when a backup comes in, and that alone sometimes will jumpstart a team a little bit, or just everybody raise their level just a little bit. Collectively, that's raising it a big amount, and all of a sudden you're playing at a higher level. And there's just something about that when that happens. And when we're playing Michigan for the national championship, Robbie goes down, I go into the game. Robert and I and Trevor Maddish, they go, we got you, man. Like, don't worry. Like, we got you. Nobody's going to touch you. Except for on the first play, Robert let somebody through, and he smacked me. Yeah. And I went back to the huddle, I go, what? He goes, it's not going to happen ever again. Trevor's like, this time we really got you. But they just kept encouraging. All the receivers kept telling me how open they were. Hey, I'm wide open. I'm open on every play. Throw it to me. I'll catch it. But there is this lifting of the whole team. It's something that's unique in sports. When
so cool.
Somebody new comes in, everybody raises their level. And it doesn't matter what sport it is. Somebody goes down, all of a sudden the team plays better. What's going on with that? But it's a remarkable thing that happens in team sports.
There's so many other games I've watched. I mean, women's soccer. Yeah. BYU, University of North Carolina. I mean, I showed that last 10 minutes to my kids. Like, you want to see a lesson in enduring to the end, and it's not over till it's over? That was crazy.
Yeah, that was one of the great comebacks of all time.
It was great. Yeah. And there's something, great players, and we've talked about this before on the show. I want to get sports psychologists in here and talk about this. And with all the research you've done in every field, I'm sure this is something you've talked about, but the great ones, the bigger the moment, the more focused they are on the ball in front of them or the play that's going on right now. Tom Brady might throw 60% or 65% all game long, but in the last 2 drives, he goes 9 of 11. Why does he do that? You know what? All the great players raise their level. Michael Jordan, shooting 46% for the game, but down the stretch, he makes 5 of his last 6 shots. Why does that happen with the great players? And it's because somehow they have this ability when everything's on the line, instead of getting worried, it makes them laser focused. And when they're laser focused, they execute at an even higher level if they're prepared. And over and over and over again, you see it in every sport.
Yeah. See, and that kind of mental toughness, I want to take mental toughness lessons or something. I had another student named Justin Sua.
Yeah, in baseball.
Yeah, he's a pitcher. And he wrote a book called Mentally Tough Teens, you know, that I bought for my boys to learn how to be strong in that moment, you know. And I had a great young men's president. I was 12. I mean, our first time that we had our new young men's leader, his name was Brother Hardman, took us all in the gym, said, show me your free throw routine. I don't know, I just shoot it. He said, no, you got to have a routine. And he made every one of us have a routine. Toe on the line, look at the rim, drop the shoulders, bounce, 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 right? And when we all did it, we're like, why are we doing this? He said, I want you to focus on what you are doing, not on what the crowd, the other players are saying, you know? And I thought, oh, okay, I get that life lesson here. Yeah. Focus on you. And man, can you imagine trying to shoot into the rock?
That'd be hard. Too many crazy things going on back there, that's for sure.
Hey, another a fella right along the lines you're talking about with your relationship. So there's Mike Nascimento and your involvement there, a tremendous story.
Oh, this is Mike. This was years after I had him in a class. Yeah. I saw him somewhere, and he's like, "Hey, brother, by the way, would you read my book?" I'm like, "Mike, you wrote a book?" He said, "Well, it's like a book on CD type of thing." I was like, "I'd love to." And okay, so quick story. He's a teenager coming home from youth conference. Good place where he's supposed to be. Family van is broadsided by a drunk driver. Mike's back is broken in 9 places, and he's trying to play high school football, right? I think it was 15. And the doctor's like, well, we got to operate him and fuse your back. And he's like, well, can I play football? And the doctor's like, well, no, you're going to lose some flexibility. And Mike and his whole family are like, there's got to be another way to do this. And the doctor, I mean, I don't know, maybe the doctor was kind of thinking this will convince him to go my way. He says, listen, you're going to have to strengthen your core to a point I've never asked anybody before. If you can come in here on the floor and do like 500 crunches in a row, maybe I'll approve you to try out for football. And boy, Mike heard that, and he focused. He went back to physical therapy. We all know that really means painful therapy sometimes. And I know what it says in the gym: no pain,
no gain.
No gain.
Yep.
And all of my life, I've had a much better motto: no pain, good. But anyway, the one on the gym wall doesn't say that. So he worked and he worked. He wore this hard plastic brace over his torso, did all this stuff they asked him to do. But that stayed in his mind. If you can come in here and do 500 crunches. And he gets to this part in the book, and my jaw's dropping. He said, I called the doctor. I go into his office, and I got on the floor and start the timer. And I didn't do 500 crunches. I didn't do 600 or 700 or 800 crunches. He did 1,300 crunches in 28 minutes with a 10-pound weight on his chest.
Oh, my goodness.
And I got to that part, and I thought I couldn't do 13 crunches with a Slurpee. But he did 1,300 crunches, 28 minutes, 10-pound weight on his chest. And he gets to this point in the book, and I thought, Mike, that is a beautiful paragraph. I think I memorized it. He said, God put the fighter in me and helped me to accomplish what I did. God didn't do the sit-ups for me. I did them. Some have the faith to be healed. Others have the faith to be healed. I had the faith that God didn't want me to stop. That was worth the price of the book right there.
Yeah.
So that's a great paragraph. God didn't do the sit-ups. I had to do them.
Yeah.
And he went on a mission, wanted to go to another field, went to Chile, and he actually had a fall doing some service on his mission and had to finish his mission in Houston. Came back to BYU, walked on, and he says, I played in one game. It was Boise State at BYU. I had one tackle. He was on special teams. But he said, this made me emotional. I come into Lavelle Edwards Stadium and I see that spot. That's my spot where I got that tackle. You know? And lots of players, as we've mentioned, but nobody I respect more than Mike. So I called Jerem Jordan and Spencer Linton and said, you guys, you should do a movie on this.
Deep Blue.
And they did.
Yeah.
So go watch that, because that to me was great life lesson right there.
And people like Mike bring so much. So Mike's a big part of the program and was a great teammate. And even though he played in one game and had one tackle, he left an imprint on the program. And when he comes back around, he's a brother. He's just a brother for everybody that played with him, that played before and after him. And he's part of the fabric of BYU football and the culture because of who he is. You know, it's a great part about sports. You don't have to be a superstar to have an impact.
To have a life lesson like that. And it was pretty cool because I was speaking at Education Week one year in the Richards building somewhere. With Education Week, it's all about the adults. So the youth guys get a gym somewhere. And Mike was there, and I told half the story and said, Mike, come up and finish the story. And he did. So that was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. We got just a couple more minutes with John. By the way, Blaine's going to hit you up with 5 very important questions.
Yes. Right. Here we go.
But before we get to that one, my wife wanted to make sure we asked that you share your Barney Fife impression.
Yes, we heard about
So this is a question for Barney, not for you. How do you feel about BYU's second season in the Big 12 this fall?
I should never do this on camera. That's terrible.
Because it'll be recorded forever.
Right? Yeah, so I got to get into character for Barney Fife. Well, I think we're going to have a rowdy season. We're going to get after him this time. Make my whole body a weapon. It's my Barney Fife.
It's perfect.
All right, Diane, there you go.
Absolutely perfect. So
that's fantastic.
I did that in front of a mirror once. I thought, don't ever do that.
Yeah, you're spot on that. That was fantastic.
Most of our followers will know exactly who Barney Fife is.
There you go.
And if you don't, you need to Google it. If you're younger, you need to Google Barney Fife.
That sets a perfect tone.
You will see how perfect it is.
They asked him in an episode once if he did any sports, and he was like, oh, yeah, all the contact sports, anything rough and tumble.
That is awesome. All right, that set the tone for what Blaine's going to hit you up with right now.
We didn't give you these in advance, of course. We don't give anybody anything in advance, of course. But these we just need you to answer them, whatever comes to the top of your head. So your favorite sports movie?
I actually thought about this before I came down.
Because you've heard us ask it before.
There's one line in Cool Runnings that is so good. The best line in the whole movie, and I'm saying that so you'll ask me, what is it?
What is it?
What is it?
Doris is studying the turns before the last heat, right? Right.
You're doing this?
Exactly. And Coach Blitzer, John Candy, right, comes in and says, "Hey, Dries, we're going to go get something to eat. You want to join us?" He says, "No, thanks, Coach," because he's studying. I didn't think so. We'll bring him back something. And he says, "Hey, Coach." He said, "Yeah. Can I ask you a question?" "Shoot." He says, "You don't have to answer if you don't want, but, I want you to. But if you can't, I understand." And Irv Blitzer, what a great name. Irv Blitzer, he says, "You want to know why I cheated?" "Yes, I do, Coach." He said, "Well, it's a fair question." He said, "It's simple, really. I had to win. Dries, I've made winning my whole life. And when you make winning your whole life, you got to keep on winning. Do you understand that?" And Dries says, "No, I don't understand, Coach. You had 2 gold medals. You had it all." Okay, best line in the whole movie. Dries, a gold medal is a wonderful thing. But if you're not enough without it, you'll never be enough with it.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Cool runnings.
Right?
By the way, that's our first cool runnings in 2 years.
Whenever I
Asking
hear
that
the name
question.
Cool Runnings, immediately in my head it's like, cool runnings means peace be the journey.
Peace be the journey, right?
Look, I saw those guys, or at least a version of them, over at the Sochi Olympics.
Wow.
And when they came running in, the crowd's just into them.
Oh,
Just because
Hey,
of that movie.
You know who reminds me of like that line is BYU's new tight end, Reiner Swanson.
Really?
He's the most chill dude off the field. I feel like anytime I walk up to him, I'm going to go, like, "What are you going to do this afternoon?" And he's going to go, "Oh, man, just give me a cool bus and some tasty waves and I'm home." Like, he is like Joe SoCal.
Hey, my wife's on the live stream. She says, "Thank you. Perfect."
Yes, there you go.
Perfect. All right.
Okay, second question. Favorite singer or band?
Toto.
Oh, really?
Oh, man.
Toto.
Rosanna? Are you kidding?
Rosanna.
Rosanna.
Do you like
Africa?
Africa better than Roseanne?
They're like tied for first.
Down in Africa.
Tied for first?
I have to tell you a funny story. I got a karaoke of Africa, and they had backup singers, and they misunderstood. I don't know, maybe it was from another country, but instead of saying, "I bless the rains down in Africa," the backup singers were saying, "I guess it rains down in Africa." We laughed so hard at that. Okay, sorry, next question.
Favorite breakfast cereal? You knew this one was coming.
Honey Nut Cheerios.
Honey Nut.
Okay, that's sort of a healthy cereal, but I'm going to get late because it does have sugar on it, so I'm okay with it. So,
Okay.
Favorite BYU moment?
This could be sports.
When
It could be
at
anything.
school, it could be when you were teaching, it could be anything.
Well, I'm in sports mind right now. South end zone, Miami at BYU.
Oh, that was a nice night.
I watched that. That was the best game I've ever seen.
Did you run onto the field?
No.
You just stood and
I
watched?
should have. I didn't. I just stood there in disbelief. I thought that because I remember when they came onto the field, how they were kind of taunting the crowd. And was Dwayne the Rock on that team?
Yeah, but he was hurt.
Yeah.
So did he not come to Provo? He wasn't.
But
in the
Russell
stadium?
Maryland was on that.
Didn't
and
play.
he's still affected by it. Russell Maryland is still it's still.
But the
drives him
Rock
crazy.
missed that. And I think he came back later in the season, but he missed that.
Yeah,
game.
I called that game. That's how old I am.
Detmer was amazing.
Called it with Jay Monson for BYU TV for the replay, and whenever they do the summer football stuff, that's the one they play because that's the one we have the rights to, and so it's crazy.
Yeah, Ty was next level.
I've never felt this stadium with that kind of electricity in it ever before or since.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
That's my one. I just thought
crazy,
that was
crazy.
the funnest
Right.
football game I'd ever seen.
Okay, this is an important one for everybody that's listening out there. Your favorite church historical site to visit? I know you do tours in the summer, so
and you go to all of them.
yeah.
Can I go Jerusalem?
Sure.
Yeah, you can go overseas.
The South Steps coming out of the temple. I did not know the significance of it. I've studied it since. This is a high likelihood of where Jesus walked out after the Feast of Tabernacles, right? Saw the man born blind. Oh. Who did sin? His parents or this man that he was born blind? Jesus is like neither one, and he says, "Go walk down to the pool of Siloam and wash." And you can sit on those steps, first century steps. And if you get a chance, just sit there.
Can you feel it?
Well, yeah, it's probably I'm there, I'm going, okay, Disneyland is not the happiest place on earth. This right here.
That's pretty
Or
cool.
the Garden Tomb, that's a really happy place.
Can you get a churro over there?
Yeah, you can. You
Oh,
can
really?
get shawarma, and you can get all sorts of stuff.
So on this continent, because you've got a church history tour again this summer, which has been sold out for a long time, and you hit all those spots. Is there a favorite?
Wow. Let me run through everything. Liberty Jail is really something. I think about section 121, 122, 123, and I tell my students, okay, that those sections, that gorgeous, beautiful, shouldn't call it gorgeous, but profound writing came out of that prison.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's kind of an amazing
Do you take people back to the sacred grove? Mm-hmm. And do you introduce them to the apostle trees? Do they give you that map?
I haven't seen that.
Oh, so when you're back there this time, so that's where I grew up.
Got to go with you.
Ask whoever's in the temple, say, can you give us a map of the apostle trees? They've coordinated all the trees in the Sacred Grove area. There's 12 trees. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. That coordinate back beyond the first vision date. So there's actually 12 trees that were there.
Like witnesses.
That were witnesses, and there's 12 of them. So they call them the apostle trees. It's pretty cool.
Gave me something to look forward to.
Yeah. What was your reaction when you got the text that the church had finally purchased the Kirkland Temple?
Is it April 1st? Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
I was so thrilled. And I was texting Sherry Dew, and I text back mostly about BYU Sports.
Right.
Sherry and I
She's been on this show. She's all about sports.
I know.
She's awesome.
She's so fun. I love Sherry. And she is every bit as delightful as she seems and brilliant. I love Sherry.
And I wish I could have seen her play basketball. She was an all-state basketball player in high school.
She tells.
Yeah.
There's another life lesson,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And for her willing to share that, says something about her.
She came on and told,
so you get the text. It's not April Fool's. And what do you think?
Well, first I went to the article because it said other things. I wanted to know what else. Red brick store? What? Mansion house? What? All that stuff. I just thought, hasten my work. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Look what's happening.
Yeah. We got a bonus question for you, too. So, General Conference for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints this weekend. And you'll have plenty on your Follow Him podcast about this, for sure. What do you look most forward to when conference comes around?
When I love to have my notes out and think, what do I add to my class? So I'm looking for lots of Book of Mormon references this year. And what can I add to my class that is so current? Because my students don't remember some of the people that I remember that we quote a lot in Institute class. And so I like to hear what are they giving me today for Book of Mormon and for my testimony of Christ here. So that's probably it.
Doug on the live stream says, John is the ultimate wise guy, 2 Y's in his last name. By the way, don't know of any who has more. How about that?
I'm going to capitalize those like wise guys is from now on.
I like that.
You and Hank Smith have a very popular Follow Him podcast. How can folks get it?
That is anywhere you get podcasts, you can find it. It's on YouTube too, or you can go to followhim.co. And if you go to followhim.co, not .com, but .co, that's great because they have transcripts, show notes. They have it in different languages. An incredible team. I just get to sit there and learn and nod thoughtfully. But incredible team. So go to followhim.co and all that stuff's on there.
Great.
Okay. Do you ever once remember watching Mike Littlewood referee a basketball game and booing him?
I never would boo Mike Littlewood.
I've called a lot of games that Mike Littlewood officiated. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So. No, he was very kind. I had a kid that was trying to pitch and brought him down. And Coach Littlewood showed us around. He was awesome. So
well, Mike's in our green room. Well, let's just say hello to him on your way out. The great
good.
John, by the way, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, John. It was fun to play catch with you, too.
Yes, it was. Let's do it again.
We need to do it longer.
Get that shoulder on some ice.
Get on some
a little ice on that tonight.
Well, I want him to run some routes. I want to hit you moving.
Yeah, we got to get to a bigger field next time.
Tell Kim when you get home that you threw the ball around with the guys.
I will.
That's what we got done tonight. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
So
Have a great week, and we look forward to seeing you again. The great John, by the way, here on the